You good? No. It's okay. I didn't quite catch the end of that. You said, I love you.
Maggie. Maggie Dunn was her name.
When 18-year-old John Foster sang on American Idol, millions of people heard a beautiful song. What they didn't see was the devastating tragedy that forced him to write it. This is the story of how a single night of unimaginable loss gave birth to a song that would honor two lost friends and captivate a nation. Most people think idol singers are just chasing fame, but John? He was singing to survive. And the wildest part? His most powerful performance wasn't about winning the competition, it was a final goodbye to his two best friends, a tragedy the show barely even mentioned. Before the national stage, before the cameras and the tears, there was just a kid from Addis, Louisiana. It's a town so small you could miss it if you blink, a place on the west bank of the Mississippi River where community isn't just a word, it's a lifeline. This was John Foster Benoit's world. And in this world, he wasn't a singer. He was, in his own words, a science geek. He was a brilliant student who graduated as co-valedictorian of his class at Bresley High School. His path seemed paved not with gold records, but with textbooks and lab coats. From a young age, John's ambition was deeply personal. Growing up, he'd seen the shadow of cancer touch the lives of too many people in his community. It wasn't some abstract idea, it was a painful, constant presence. That experience planted a seed in him, a powerful desire to heal. He enrolled at Louisiana State University as a biology freshman, his sights set on becoming an oncologist. He put it with startling clarity in an interview, God heals spiritually, but he gave us the tools to heal physically, too. I want to be one of those people. It was a mission. Music, back then, was just a quiet hobby. He wasn't one of those kids who dreamed of being a rock star. In fact, he wanted to be a paleontologist, a doctor, even a senator, anything but a musician. He taught himself a few chords on a guitar he got at 15, inspired by the classic country storytellers his family loved, George Strait, Merle Haggard, and Conway Twitty. Music was his own private language. His first real performance was a total accident. During a power outage, with his face hidden by the dark, he sang karaoke for about 10 family members. They were stunned. His uncle, Gahan, a musician himself, saw that spark and refused to let it die. He would literally push John onto the small stages of local bars where his friends' bands were playing. John, a shy teenager, would get up in front of what felt like a colossal crowd of 40 or 50 people and just sing. The reaction was always the same, a wave of genuine support. He still remembers the surreal feeling of signing his first autograph on someone's hat, thinking to himself, somebody wants my name on their hat, that means I'm doing something special. But even with that encouragement, his heart and mind were set on LSU and the path to becoming Dr. Foster. He was John Foster Benoit, the son of a family that owned Benoit's Country Meat Block, a local institution founded by his grandparents in 1982. He understood hard work and family values, which he later shared with the American Idol judges by bringing them personalized coolers filled with Cajun food from back home. His life was ordinary in the most beautiful way, a devoted student, a loving son, a loyal friend. He had a high school sweetheart, a clear career path, and the unwavering support of his town. He was on track to become an oncologist who might play a little music on the side. But one shattering night would flip that script entirely, forcing the music from the background to the absolute forefront, not as a choice, but as a necessity. New Year's Eve, 2022. For most teenagers, it's a night of celebration. For John Foster, then just 16, it became the day his world fell apart. It was the day he got the phone call that no one should ever get. Two of his best friends, Maggie Dunn, 17, and Caroline Gill, 16, were gone. The details that emerged were almost too cruel to comprehend. This wasn't a simple accident. Maggie and Caroline, both beloved cheerleaders at Bresley High, were in a car on a local highway. At the same time, a police officer was in a high-speed chase, reportedly hitting 86 miles per hour when he ran a red light and slammed into their car without ever hitting the brakes. Caroline was in the passenger seat. Maggie was driving. Her brother, Liam, who was in the back seat, was critically injured but survived. The news ripped through the small towns of Addis and Brusley. It was a collective trauma. But for John, the loss was personal and profound. He had never experienced grief like this. He was shattered, lost in a sea of emotions he didn't know how to navigate. In the depths of his sorrow, he drove out to his family's house on the bayou. He sat on the pier, alone with a pain so immense it felt like it had no voice. And then, as he put it, the words and the melody just came. With tears falling onto the fretboard of his guitar, he started writing the song that would become "Tell That Angel I Love Her." It wasn't a song crafted for the radio. It was a raw message from a broken heart. He later called it the most beautiful yet the most horrific thing I've ever created. Beautiful because it was a pure expression of love, horrific because of the unbearable pain it came from. The lyrics captured the disorienting reality of loss with a wisdom far beyond his years. He wrote, "Sure, the sun will come up, but it won't shine on her skin / and I'd give anything I have to talk to her again." It was a direct response to the well-meaning but hollow things people say, that life goes on, that the sun will rise again. For him, the sun might rise, but it would never again light up his friend's face. He sent a video of the first verse to Maggie's mother, Erin Martin, just days after he wrote it. The song became an anchor in the storm of grief, not just for him, but for everyone who loved the girls. It was a shared testament to their lives. This single act of turning pain into art was a defining moment. In terms of when I decided that music was my thing, he said on a podcast, it was absolutely, 1,000,000%, December 31st, 2022, the day I lost my friends Maggie and Caroline. Before that day, music was a maybe. After writing that song, he felt that God had spoken through him, giving him a new purpose. He realized music wasn't just for celebrating, it was for grieving, for loving, and for healing. He didn't know it yet, but that song, born from the worst day of his life, was about to carry the story of Maggie and Caroline far beyond the bayou and onto a national stage. The boy who wanted to heal with medicine was about to discover he could also heal with a melody. John Foster didn't walk into his American Idol audition with polished confidence. He walked in with his roots. He brought 3 red coolers filled with homemade Cajun food for the judges, a gesture of pure Louisiana hospitality. He stood before Luke Bryan, Lionel Richie, and new judge Carrie Underwood, and introduced himself as a biology major who hoped to become a singing oncologist. His first song was an Alan Jackson classic. The judges saw sincerity, but Luke Bryan wasn't sold, initially voting no. He wasn't sure John's voice could last. But Carrie Underwood, a country superstar who knows the genre's soul, asked for one more song. That was the moment everything changed. John launched into Conway Twitty's Goodbye Time, and the raw, honest ache in his voice captivated the room. Luke Bryan, visibly moved, stood up and started singing along, changing his no to a yes right there on the spot. Lionel Richie called him a storytelling country artist, someone you just believe. With 3 yes, the science geek from Addis was going to Hollywood. Throughout the competition, John was an outlier. He had no formal vocal training. As his fame grew, so did the online chatter. But instead of drama, people were mostly fascinated by his classic country style, drawing comparisons to legends like Dwight Yoakam and George Strait. He addressed it all with the same direct honesty that defined his music, clarifying on a podcast that he goes by John Foster because his dad and grandpa are also named John Benoit, and it was just easier. He's John Foster Benoit III, a name he's incredibly proud of for its French Cajun heritage, but his defining moment was still to come. During the Top 20 Songs of Faith episode, he finally had the chance to share the song that had changed his life. Standing on a softly lit stage with just his guitar, he performed Tell That Angel I Love Her. As he sang, the studio fell silent. His voice, thick with emotion, trembled but never broke. The lyrics, born from such specific, personal pain, became universal. Across the nation, viewers who knew nothing of the story behind the song were moved to tears. The judges were shaken. Carrie Underwood looked on with quiet sorrow. Lionel Richie was seen wiping his eyes. Luke Bryan, the one-time skeptic, told him, "What you just did there removed all doubts in my mind that you deserve to be here." At the end of the song, with tears streaming down his face, John whispered into the microphone, "I love you, Maggie." What made it even more poignant was that Maggie Dunn's mother, Erin, was in the audience. Watching John sing her daughter's name on national television was a heart-wrenching mix of pride, grief, and hope. She later admitted she was a mess of snot and ugly tears. It was a moment that ensured Maggie's story, and Caroline's, would be heard and remembered. His journey on Idol galvanized his hometown. Signs went up all over West Baton Rouge Parish. His family's butcher shop became a hub of local pride. When he made the finale, the town threw him a massive homecoming parade. He had become their hometown hero. He ultimately finished as the runner-up to the powerhouse vocalist Jamal Roberts, a result John accepted with grace. "God has a reason for me being runner-up," he said, "and I will always trust his plan." But in so many ways, John had already won. He had found his confidence and a new direction. He had shared his most painful story and discovered it resonated with millions. The kid who once sang in the dark during a power outage was now a nationally recognized artist, whose voice was a source of healing. John Foster's time on American Idol was never just about hitting the right notes. It was about turning unimaginable pain into a message of hope. He walked away from the show not as the winner, but as one of its most memorable artists, proving that authenticity is more powerful than perfection. His story is a testament to the healing power of music. He still believes he was put on this earth to heal, whether through medicine or music. The two paths, once separate, have now merged. He continues his studies at LSU, holding on to his dream of becoming an oncologist, while also embracing the life of a musician. It's a dual calling he sees as two sides of the same coin, easing human suffering. Since the show, he's been playing shows and writing music, with his sights set on Nashville and his dream of one day playing the Grand Ole Opry. He remains deeply rooted in his faith and his Louisiana home, with his core values, faith, family, and love, as his compass. The song that started it all, "Tell That Angel I Love Her," is now his debut single, a permanent tribute to Maggie Dunn and Caroline Gill. It's the defining moment of his young career, where a private tragedy was transformed into a public act of healing. John Foster entered the national spotlight as a quiet kid with a guitar and a devastating story. He left it as a powerful storyteller, a symbol of grace, and a young man who showed millions that even in the deepest sorrow, you can find your voice and create something beautiful. He didn't just sing a song, he shared his soul. If you were moved by John's story, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories about artists who change the world with their music.